Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're now on Canto 5, Chapter 20, The Structure of the Universe. And today we're taking up, no, wait a minute.
28.
Huh?
28, yeah. Welcome back to the live studios here in Govardhan, ISKCON Bhaktivedanta Ashram. In the middle of that island is a great mountain called Manasotara, which forms the boundary between the inner side and the outer side of the island. Its breadth and height are 10,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles. On that mountain, in the four directions, are the residential quarters of the demigods such as Indra. In the chariot of the sun god, the sun travels on the top of the mountain in an orbit called Samvatsara, encircling Mount Meru. The sun's path on the northern side is called Uttarayana, and its path on the southern side is called Dakshinayana. One side represents a day for the demigods, and the other represents their night. Purport. The movement of the sun is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Yasyajyaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakra. The sun orbits around Mount Sumeru for 6 months on the northern side and for 6 months on the southern. This adds up to the duration of a day and night of the demigods in the upper planetary systems. Text 31. The ruler of this island, the son of Maharaja Priyavrata, named Vitihotra, had 2 sons, named Ramanaka and Dataki. He granted the 2 sides of the island to these 2 sons, and then personally engaged himself in activities for the sake of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like his elder brother, Medatiti. Text 32. For the fulfillment of material desires, the inhabitants of this tract of land worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as represented by Lord Brahma. They offer prayers to the Lord as follows. Text 33. Lord Brahma is known as Karma Maya, the form of ritualistic ceremonies. Because by performing ritualistic ceremonies, one may attain his position, and because the Vedic ritualistic hymns become manifest from him. He is devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead without deviation, and therefore, in one sense, he is not different from the Lord. Nevertheless, he should be worshipped not as the monists worship him, but in duality. One should always remain a servitor of the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Worshipable Deity. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Brahma, the form of manifest Vedic knowledge. Purport. In this verse, the word karma mayam, obtainable by the Vedic ritualistic system, is significant. The Vedas say, Swadharma nishta chatajanmavi puman vidin chitam eti. One who strictly follows the principles of Varnashram Dharma for at least 100 births will be rewarded with the post of Lord Brahma. A little detail. Prabhupada describes that strictly as not making one mistake in 100 lifetimes. It is also significant that although Lord Brahma is extremely powerful, he never thinks himself one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He always knows that he is an eternal servitor of the Lord. Because the Lord and the servant are identical on the spiritual platform, Brahma is herein addressed as Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. But if a devotee serves him with full faith, the meaning of the Vedic literature is revealed to him. Therefore, Brahma is called Brahmalinga, which indicates that his entire form consists of Vedic knowledge. 34. Thereafter, beyond the ocean of sweet water and fully surrounding it is a mountain named Loka Loka, which divides the countries that are full of sunlight from those not lit by the sun. 35. Beyond the ocean of sweet water is a tract of land as broad as the area between the middle of Mount Sumeru and the boundary of Manasotra mountain. In that tract of land there are many living beings. Beyond it, extending to Loka Loka mountain, is another land which is made of gold. Because of its golden surface, it reflects light like the surface of a mirror, and any physical article that falls on that land can never be perceived again. All living entities, therefore, have abandoned that golden land. What?
Said once you lose your car keys, they're gone.
Yeah.
36. Between the lands inhabited by living entities and those that are uninhabited stands the great mountain which separates the two, and which is therefore celebrated as Loka Loka. By the supreme will of Krishna, the mountain known as Loka Loka has been installed as the outer border of the three worlds, Bhuvar Loka, and Swar Loka, to control the rays of the sun throughout the universe. All the luminaries from the sun up to Dhruva Loka distribute their rays throughout the three worlds, but only within the boundary formed by this mountain. Because it is extremely high, extending even higher than Dhruva Loka, it blocks the rays of the luminaries, which therefore can never extend beyond it. Purport. When we speak of Lokatraya, we refer to the three primary planetary systems, Bhu, Bhuva, and Swa, into which the universe is divided. Surrounding these planetary systems are the 8 directions, namely east, west, north, south, northeast, southeast, and northwest, and southwest. Loka Loka Mountain has been established as the outer border of the outer boundary of all the lokas to distribute the rays of the sun and other luminaries equally throughout the universe. This vivid description of how the rays of the sun are distributed throughout the different planetary systems of the universe is very scientific. Shukadeva Goswami described these universal affairs to Maharaj Parikshit as he had heard about them from his predecessor. He explained these facts 5,000 years ago, but the knowledge existed long, long before, because Shukadeva Goswami received it through disciplic succession. Because this knowledge is accepted through the disciplic succession, it is perfect. The history of modern scientific knowledge, on the contrary, does not go back more than a few hundred years. Therefore, even if modern scientists do not accept the other factual presentations of Srimad Bhagavatam, how can they deny the perfect astronomical calculations that existed long before they could imagine such things? There is so much information to gather from Srimad Bhagavatam. Modern scientists, however, have no information of other planetary systems, and indeed are hardly conversant with the planet on which we are now living. 38. Learned scholars who are free from mistakes, illusions, and propensities to cheat have thus described the planetary systems and their particular symptoms, measurements, and locations. With great deliberation, they have established the truth that the distance between Sumeru and the mountain known as Loka Loka is 1/4 of the diameter of the universe, or in other words, 125 million yojanas, 1 billion miles. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given accurate astronomical information about the location of Loka Loka Mountain, the movements of the sun globe, and the distance between the sun and the circumference of the universe. However, the technical terms used in the astronomical calculations given by the Jyotir Veda are difficult to translate into English. Therefore, to satisfy the reader, we may include the exact Sanskrit statement given by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, which records exact calculations regarding universal affairs. Swami Prabhupada, do the first 4 lines. Two more.
Lakshona Pancha Shatkodi Pramana Gneya Yudha Meru Mantyan Manas Uttar Matya Paryantam Sarda Sapta Panchasa Laksha. It goes on. Don't ask me what it means.
Next year I'll ask you. 39. On the top of Loka Loka mountain are the 4 Gajapatis, the best of elephants, which were established in the 4 directions by Lord Brahma, the supreme spiritual master of the entire universe. The names of those elephants are Rishabha, Pushkarachuda, Vamana, and Aparajita. They are responsible for maintaining the planetary systems of the universe. 40. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of all transcendental opulences and the master of the spiritual sky. He is the Supreme Person Bhagavan, the super soul of everyone. The demigods, led by Indra, the king of heaven, are entrusted with seeing to the affairs of the material world, to benefit all living beings in all the varied planets, and to increase the power of those elephants. To increase the power of those elephants and of the demigods, the Lord manifests himself on top of that mountain in a spiritual body, uncontaminated by the modes of material nature. Surrounded by his personal expansions and assistants like Vishvaksena, he exhibits all his perfect opulences, such as religion and knowledge, and his mystic powers, such as Anima, Lakima, and Mahima. He is beautifully situated, and he is decorated by the different weapons in his 4 hands. 41. Oh. Take where your exits.
41. The various forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such as Narayana and Vishnu, are beautifully decorated with different weapons. The Lord exhibits those forms to maintain all the varied planets created by his personal potency, Yogamaya. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Sambhavam yatma mayaya, I appear by my internal potency. The word Atma Maya refers to the Lord's personal potency, Yogamaya. After creating both the material world and spiritual world through Yogamaya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally maintains them by expanding himself in different categories as the Vishnu Murtis and the demigods. He maintains the material creation from beginning to end, and he personally maintains the spiritual world. Text 42. My dear king, outside Lokaloka mountain is the tract of land known as Alokavarsha, which extends for the same breadth as the area within the mountain. In other words, 125 million yojanas, 1 billion miles. Beyond Alokavarsha is the destination of those who aspire for liberation from the material world. It is beyond the jurisdiction of the material modes of nature, and therefore it is completely pure. Lord Krishna took Arjuna through this place to bring back the sons of the Brahmana.
This is the abode of liberation.
Text 43.
This is the abode of liberation described in the Bhagavatam.
This is No, I don't think so. I mean, they did go through it, but I'm not sure if that was described. It describes them going through the covers of the universe and then the Brahmajyoti afterwards. I'm not sure if it describes that part. Can't remember. Maybe we can do some research. Text 43. The sun is situated vertically in the middle of the universe, in the area between Burloka and Bhuvarloka, which is called Antariksha, outer space. The distance between the sun and the circumference of the universe is 25 koti yojanas, 2 billion miles. Purport. The word koti means 10 million, and the yojana is 8 miles. The diameter of the universe is 50 koti yojanas, 4 billion miles. Therefore, since the sun is in the middle of the universe, the distance between the sun and the edge of the universe is calculated to be 25 koti yojanas, 2 billion miles. Text 44. The sun god is also known as Vairaja, the total material body for all living entities. Because he entered this dull egg of the universe at the time of creation, he is also called Martanda. He is also known as Hiranyagarbha, because he received his material body from Hiranyagarbha, Lord Brahma. Purport. The post of Lord Brahma is meant for very highly elevated, spiritually advanced living beings. When such living beings are unavailable, Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, expands himself as Lord Brahma. This takes place very rarely. Consequently, there are two kinds of Brahmas. Sometimes Brahma is an ordinary living entity, and at other times Brahma is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Brahma spoken of here is an ordinary living being. Whether Brahma is the Supreme Personality of Godhead or an ordinary living being, he is known as Vairaja Brahma and Hiranyagarbha Brahma. Therefore, the sun god is also accepted as Vairaja Brahma. 45. O king, the sun god and the sun planet divide all the directions of the universe. It is only because of the presence of the sun that we can understand what the sky, the higher planets, this world, and the lower planets are. It is also only because of the sun that we can understand which places are for material enjoyment, which are for liberation, and which are hellish and subterranean. Text 46. All living entities, including demigods, human beings, animals, birds, insects, reptiles, creepers, and trees, depend upon the heat and light given by the sun god from the sun planet. Furthermore, it is because of the sun's presence that all living entities can see, and therefore he is called Drig Ishwara, the personality of Godhead presiding over sight. Purport. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Surya Atma Atma Vino Pashaha. The actual life and soul of all living entities within this universe is the sun. He is therefore upasya, worshipable. We worship the sun god by chanting the Gayatri mantra, Om Bhur Bhuvak Swa Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Surya is the life and soul of this universe, and there are innumerable universes for which a sun god is the life and soul, just as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the life and soul of the entire creation. We have information that Vairaja, Hiranyagarbha, entered the great dull material globe called the sun. This indicates that the theory held by the so-called scientists that no one lives there is wrong. Bhagavad Gita also says that Krishna first instructed Bhagavad Gita to the sun god, Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Ahamavyayam. Therefore the sun is not vacant. It is inhabited by living entities, and the predominating deity is Vairaja or Vivaswan. The difference between the sun and earth is that the sun is a fiery planet, but everyone there has a suitable body and can live there without difficulty. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 20th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Studying the Structure of the Universe.
This chapter is called The Movements of the Sun. It's chapter 21. It starts off with Sri Shukadeva Goswami speaking. He says, "My dear king, I have thus far described the diameter of the universe, 50 crores of yojanas, or 4 billion miles, and its general characteristics, according to the estimations of learned scholars. As a grain of wheat is divided into 2 parts, and one can estimate the size of the upper part by knowing that of the lower, so expert geographers instruct. One can understand the measurements of the upper part of the universe by knowing those of the lower part. The sky between the earthly sphere and the heavenly sphere is called antariksha, or outer space. It adjoins the top of the sphere of earth and the bottom of that of heaven." Three. In the midst of that region of outer space, antariksha, is the most opulent sun, the king of all planets that emanate heat, such as the moon. By the influence of its radiation, the sun heats the universe and maintains its proper order. It also gives light to help all living entities see. While passing toward the north, toward the south, or through the equator, in accordance with the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is said to move slowly, swiftly, or moderately. According to its movements in rising above, going beneath, or passing through the equator, and correspondingly coming in touch with various signs of the zodiac, headed by Makara, Capricorn. Days and nights are short, long, or equal to one another. Purport. Lord Brahma prays in his Brahma Samhita, Yat Shakshuresha Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rashesha Teja Yasyagnaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within the fixed orbit of eternal time. The sun is the king of all planetary systems and has unlimited potency in heat and light. Although the sun is described as Bhagavan, the most powerful, and although it is actually the most powerful planet within the universe, it nevertheless has to carry out the order of Govinda, Krishna. The sun god cannot deviate even an inch from the orbit designated to him. Therefore, in every sphere of life, the supreme order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is carried out. The entire material nature carries out his orders. However, we foolishly see the activities of material nature without understanding the supreme order and supreme person behind them. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Mayadhyakshena Prakriti, material nature carries out the orders of the Lord, and thus everything is maintained in an orderly way. That's a lot of responsibility. I mean, he really has to be accurate, otherwise everything gets messed up. You take it for granted so much because it's so orderly, but to consider that there's a personality behind it that's charged with keeping the rhythm going of the universe, and there has to be exact precision, right? Not too much to the left or the right. He can't sleep in one day and say, sorry, couldn't make it today. He just froze the whole the whole universe.
David Goswami writes, he shares some scientific knowledge in Searching for Vedic India about how the margins for the distance between the sun and Earth are so narrow. Actually, if it was a little bit further, then according to what the scientists understand, there's no possibility of life for one reason. If it's a little bit closer, there's no possibility of life for another reason. And then within the universal kind of broader context, that happens over and over again. The margins are really, really small. Even the scientists admit that it's remarkably narrow kind of.
What should we do?
Well, there was an article published recently by a couple of scientists, and you know what their conclusion was? There's actually no reason that the universe should exist.
Well,
It's beyond their conception.
they also say that this isn't because there's a controller. They say that there's an infinite number of universes, or an extremely large number of universes, and we happen to be in the one that worked out to be within the.
A broken clock's right at least twice a day, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's bogus.
How do they make that assumption?
Huh?
How do they make that assumption that this is the only universe that's working?
Because it's working, and their presumption is that there's a really large number of universes. So the only one in which there'd be someone to notice how something is working is the one where it's working.
Do you think this is hard to say?
4. When the sun passes through Mesha, Aries, and Tula, Libra, the durations of the day and night are equal. When it passes through the 5 signs headed by Vrishabha, Taurus, the duration of the days increases until Cancer, and then it gradually decreases by half an hour each month, until day and night again become equal in Libra. Yay, Libra.
It's like the symbol of Libra, the balance.
Yeah. Deliberation. 5. When the sun passes through the 5 signs beginning with Vrishchika, Scorpio, the duration of the days decreases until Capricorn, and then gradually it increases month after month until day and night become equal in Aries.
Wow. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Text 7. Until the sun travels...
6.
Text 6, sorry. Until the sun travels to the south, the days grow longer, and until it travels to the north, the nights grow longer. Text 7. Shukadeva Goswami continued, My dear king, as stated before, the learned say that the sun travels over all sides of Manasotara mountain in a circle whose length is 95,100,000 yojanas, 760,800,000 miles. On Manasotara mountain, due east of Mount Sumeru, is a place known as Devadhani, possessed by King Indra. Similarly, in the south is a place known as Samyamani, possessed by Yamaraj. In the west is a place known as Nimlochani, possessed by Varuna, and in the north is a place named Vibhavari, possessed by the moon god. Sunrise, midday, sunset, and midnight occur in all those places according to specific times, thus engaging all living entities in their various occupational duties and also making them cease such duties. Texts 8 and 9. The living entities residing on Sumeru mountain are always very warm, as at midday, because for them the sun is always overhead. Although the sun moves counterclockwise, facing the constellations, with Sumeru mountain on its left, it also moves clockwise and appears to have the mountain on its right because it is influenced by the Dakshinavarta wind. People living in countries at points diametrically opposite to where the sun is first seen rising, will see the sun setting, And if a straight line were drawn from a point where the sun is at midday, the people in countries at the opposite end of the line would be experiencing midnight. Similarly, if people residing where the sun is setting were to go to countries diametrically opposite, they would not see the sun in the same condition. Now, Sariputta gives a very interesting explanation of this. He said if you were standing in India facing south, and you looked at the same time every day, and then the next day, you'd see the sun moving to the right. But if you could see the stars in the sky, when the sun was in the sky, you can't see them because the sun's light covers them. But if you could see every day the sun moving in relationship to the stars, which are fixed, the sun looks like it's moving to the left. It's because there's two directions of speed. The sun's moving one speed, and the constellations of stars, which are moving together, are moving at a different speed. Practical way you could see that for yourself if you care to try. Of course, you'd have to see the stars in the sky during the day, but you could work it out.
I think later in life
We'll try.
You do a
Okay.
viewing again at night.
What?
You do a viewing again at night and map out the stars, and then you have to superimpose both.
Oh, they already have it mapped out. It's already done. It's called the celestial sphere. Text 10. They haven't got a GPS for that yet, but maybe they're working on it. I don't know. Text 10. When the sun travels from Devadhani, the residence of Indra, to Samyamani, the residence of Yamaraj, it travels 23,775,000 yojanas, 190,200,000 miles, in 15 gatikas, 6 hours. That's breaking some records, though. 190 million miles in 6 hours. Purport. The distance indicated by the word sadikani is Panchavingshati Sahasradikani, or 25,000 yojanas. That plus 2.5 crores and 12.5 laksha of yojanas is the distance the sun travels between each two cities. This comes to 23,775,000 yojanas, or 190,200,000 miles. The total orbit of the sun is 4 times that distance, or 95,100,000 yojanas, 760,800,000 miles.
Varunim. 11. From the residence of Yamaraj, the sun travels to Nimlochani, the residence of Varuna. From there to Vibhavari, the residence of the moon god, and from there again to the residence of Indra. In a similar way, the moon, along with the other stars and planets, becomes visible in the celestial sphere and then sets and again becomes invisible. Purport: in Bhagavad Gita 10:21, Krishna says, Nakshakranam aham shashi. Of stars I am the moon. This indicates that the moon is similar to other stars. The Vedic literature informs us that within this universe there is one sun which is moving. The Western theory that all the luminaries in the sky are different suns is not confirmed in the Vedic literature. Nor can we assume that these luminaries are the suns of other universes, for each universe is covered by various layers of material elements. And therefore, although the universes are clustered together, we cannot see from one universe to another. In other words, whatever we see is within this one universe. In each universe, there is one Lord Brahma and there are other demigods on other planets, but there is only one sun. 12. Thus the chariot of the sun god, which is Trayimaya, or worshipped by the three words of Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha, travels through the four residences mentioned above at a speed of 3,400,800 yojanas, 27,206,400 miles in a muhurta
48 minutes.
only.
It's in the report.
Only. 13. The chariot of the sun god has only one wheel, which is known as Samvatsara, or Old Pal. The 12 months are calculated to be its 12 spokes. The 6 seasons are the sections of its rim, and the 3 Chaturmasya periods are its 3-sectioned hub. One side of the axle carrying the wheel rests upon the summit of Mount Sumeru, and the other rests upon Manasotara mountain. Affixed to the outer end of the axle, the wheel continuously rotates on Manasotara mountain like the wheel of an oil pressing machine. 14. As in an oil pressing machine, the first axle is attached to a second axle, which is 1/4 as long, 3,937,500 yojanas, or 31,500,000 miles. The upper end of this second axle is attached to Dhruvaloka by a rope of wind. 15. My dear king, the carriage of the sun god's chariot is estimated to be 3,600,000 yojanas, 28,800,000 miles long and 1/4 as wide, 900,000 yojanas and 7 million, or 7,200,000 miles. The chariot's horses, which are named after Gayatri and other Vedic meters, are harnessed by Arunadev to a yoke that is also 900,000 yojanas wide. This chariot continuously carries the sun god. Purport, it is stated in Vishnu Purana. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated, Gayatri cha brihat ushnig jagati trishtup eva cha anushtup pantir it yuktas chandamsi harayo ravehe. The 7 horses yoked to the sun god's chariot are named Gayatri, Brihati, Ushnik, Jagati, Trishtup, Anushtup, and Punkti Das. These names of various Vedic meters designate the 7 horses that carry the sun god's chariot. There was a devotee named Ushnik in Los Angeles. I think he passed away. Ushnik. Remember Ushnik? Havi Baru? Ushnik? Ushnik.
You got a few more ideas here. Okay, 16. Although Arunadeva sits in front of the sun god and is engaged in driving the chariot and controlling the horses, he looks backward toward the sun god. Purport. In the Vayu Purana, the position of the horses is described. Saptasharupa chandrang si vahante vamato ravim chakrapaksha nibadnani madadhani chakre vaksha samahitaha. Although Arunadeva is in the front seat controlling the horses, he looks back toward the sun god from his left side. Text 17. There are 60,000 saintly persons named Balikilias, each the size of a thumb. Whose thumb? That's the question. Who are located in front of the sun god and who offer him eloquent prayers of glorification. Text 18. Similarly, 14 other saints, Gandharvas, Apsaras, Nagas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, and demigods, who were divided into groups of 2, assumed different names of each month, and continuously performed different ritualistic ceremonies to worship the Supreme Lord as the most powerful demigod Suryadev, who holds many names. Purport. In the Vishnu Purana it is said, what are you looking at? Okay. Stuvanti muneyak suryam gandharvair giyate puraha nityanto sapsaso yanti suryasyanu nishastraraha vahani panaga yakshai priyante prikshangraha vaivam paribharya samasate yoyam tatmunak suryo mandale munisatama Emoshnas Varishtanam Hetut Ve Samayam Gataha. Worshipping the most powerful demigod Surya, the Gandharvas sing in front of him, the Apsaras dance before the chariot, and the Nishacharas follow the chariot, and the Panagas decorate the chariot. The Yakshas guard the chariot, and the saints, called the Valikilias, surround the sun god and offer prayers. The 7 groups of 14 associates arrange the proper times for regular snow, heat, and rain throughout the universe.
Reminds me of the Rath Yatra card.
Yeah, I was thinking the same
His
thing.
devotees go down there, and some of them protect it, some of them decorate it, stuff like that.
There you go. Text 19. My dear king, in his orbit through Bhumandala, the sun god traverses a distance of 95,100,000 yojanas, 760,800,000 miles, at the speed of 2,000 yojanas and 2 kroshas, 16,004 miles in a moment. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 21st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Movements of the Sun.
Now, we started at an odd time today because of the initiation ceremony.
Must
but
be because of the movements of the sun.
Could be. That could be one factor.
The Valkyrias, they missed some steps.
Does anybody need a 5-minute Gayatri break? No? Navina doesn't. You already do? Oh, did you Gayatris?
No.
Because if
But
you
I can do
don't,
it later.
anybody need a break for 5 minutes? Keep going. Okay, you're given a break. At any time you may break. Keep going? Yes.
Yes, please.
Ushnik. Ushnik would keep going. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, this is the orbits of the planets. My dear Lord, you have already affirmed the truth that the supremely powerful sun god travels around Dhruvaloka with both Dhruvaloka and Mount Sumeru on his right. Yet at the same time, the sun god faces the signs of the zodiac and keeps Sumeru and Dhruvaloka on his left. How can we reasonably accept that the sun god proceeds with Sumeru and Dhruvaloka on both his left and right simultaneously? Sri Shukadeva Goswami clearly answered, when a potter's wheel is moving and small ants located on that big wheel are moving with it, one can see that their motion is different from that of the wheel because they appear sometimes on one part of the wheel and sometimes on another. Similarly, the signs and constellations with Sumeru and Dhruvaloka on their right move with the wheel of time, and the ant-like sun and other planets move with them. The sun and planets, however, are seen in different signs and constellations at different times. This indicates that their motion is different from that of the zodiac and the wheel of time itself. Does everyone have that in mind? Did you get it?
Yeah, the constellation is moving
Yes.
at one speed and the sun's moving at another speed.
It's an ant-like sun compared to the
Yeah.
compared to
The whole.
the whole universe. I see.
And the whole thing, the celestial sphere is moving around also. The sun is moving at a different speed. So that therefore depending on, and plus it's changing speeds is another thing.
What's changing speeds?
Movements of the celestial sphere and the sun, both changing speeds.
Really?
And the sun also goes like this.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Text number 3, no? Correct?
Yes.
Yes. The original cause of the cosmic manifestation is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. When great saintly persons, fully aware of the Vedic knowledge, offered prayers to the Supreme Person, he descended to this material world in the form of the sun to benefit all the planets and purify fruitive activities. He divided himself into 12 parts and created seasonal forms, beginning with spring. In this way, he created the seasonal qualities such as heat, cold, and so on. 4. According to the system of 4 varnas and 4 ashramas, people generally worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, who is situated as the sun god. With great faith, they worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Supersoul, according to the ritualistic ceremonies handed down in the 3 Vedas, such as Agnihotra and similar higher and lower fruitive acts, and according to the process of mystic yoga. In this way, they very easily attain the ultimate goal of life. 5. The sun god, who is Narayana, or Vishnu, the soul of all the worlds, is situated in outer space between the upper and lower portions of the universe. Passing through 12 months on the wheel of time, the sun comes in touch with 12 different signs of the zodiac and assumes 12 different names according to those signs. The aggregate of those 12 months is called a samvatsara, or an entire year. According to lunar calculations, 2 fortnights, one of the waxing moon and the other of the waning, form 1 month. That same period is 1 day and night for the planet Pitraloka. According to stellar calculations, a month equals 2 1/4 constellations. When the sun travels for 2 months, a season passes, and therefore the seasonal changes are considered parts of the body of the year.
6 seasons. That's the same season of India. Okay. Text 6. Thus, the time the sun takes to rotate through half of outer space is called an ayana, or its period of movement in the north or in the south. Text 7. The sun god has 3 speeds. There he goes again, that guy. Turn. Look at that. I wish I had arms that long. Such a hassle, a whole lifetime going through this. The sun god has 3 speeds: slow, fast, and moderate. The time he takes to travel entirely around the spheres of heaven, earth, and space at these 3 speeds is referred to by learned scholars by the 5 names: Samvatsara, Parivatsara, Idavatsara, Anuvatsara, and Vatsara. Vatsara, that's Vatsal's friend. Purport. According to solar astronomical calculations, each year extends 6 days beyond the calendar year, and according to lunar calculations, each year is 6 days shorter. Therefore, because of the movements of the sun and moon, there is a difference of 12 days between the solar and lunar years. As the Samvatsara, Parivatsara, Idavatsara, Anuvatsara, and Vatsara pass by, 2 extra months are added within each 5 years. This makes a 6th samvatsara. But because that samvatsara is extra, the solar system is calculated according to the above 5 names. That's Purusha Mas. You get 1 month every 2 months every 5 years. Extra months. Text 8. Above the rays of the sunshine by a distance of 100,000 yojanas, 800,000 miles, is the moon, which travels at a speed faster than that of the sun. In 2 lunar fortnights, the moon travels through the equivalent of a samvatsara of the sun. In 2 1/4 days, it passes through a month of the sun, and in 1 day, it passes through a fortnight of the sun. Purport. When we take into account that the moon is 100,000 yojanas, or 800,000 miles above the rays of the sunshine, it is very surprising that the modern excursions to the moon could be possible. Since the moon is so distant, how space vehicles could go there is a doubtful mystery. Notice he never gets caught. Doubtful mystery. Modern scientific calculations are subject to one change after another, and therefore they are uncertain. We have to accept the calculations of the Vedic literature. These Vedic calculations are steady. The astronomical calculations made long ago and recorded in the Vedic literature are correct even now. Whether the Vedic calculations or modern ones are better may remain a mystery for others, but as far as we are concerned, we accept the Vedic calculations to be correct. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur got the title Siddhanta after he translated the Surya Siddhanta. He was a great astronomer and astrologer. And he explains, in that book, it explains the diameters of the universe, of the planets. And that was written a long time ago. And now the calculations of the modern scientists almost match exactly those calculations. But you have to measure 5 yojanas to a mile, rather than 8 that Prabhupada uses. But if you do that, then they come out almost exactly the same. And the distances are also very similar. Not possible by by any physical calculation they had in those days. But you do see, like in Jaipur and Delhi, they have these kind of special observatories. Thank you for that. And it's not like you look through a lens and it makes it closer, but you can observe the places and where they are at different times, and by different calculations you can measure the distances and sizes and everything. Amazing. Okay. Text 9. When the moon is waxing, the illuminating portions of it increase daily, thus creating day for the demigods and night for the pitas. When the moon is waning, however, it causes night for the demigods and day for the pitas. In this way, the moon passes through each constellation of stars in 30 muhurtas, an entire day. The moon is the source of nectarian coolness that influences the growth of food grains, and therefore the moon god is considered the life of all living entities. He is consequently called Jiva, the chief living being within the universe. Text 10. Because the moon is full of all potentialities, it represents the influence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The moon is the predominating deity of everyone's mind, and therefore the moon god is called Manumaya. He is also called Annamaya because he gives potency to all herbs and plants. And he is called Amritamaya because he is the source of life for all living entities. The moon pleases the demigods, pitas, human beings, animals, birds, reptiles, trees, plants, and all other living entities. Everyone is satisfied by the presence of the moon. Therefore the moon is also called Sarvamaya, all-pervading.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's called Jiva, the chief living being within the universe, because that's one of the, and that discussion in the Adi Lila of the difference between Lord Chaitanya's philosophy and philosophy of Shankaracharya. There's the section where that sometimes Sankarsana, who's the reservoir of all living entities, is also called Jiva. So they try to screw a meaning out of it, saying, well, he's also a Jiva.
Yeah.
But actually the real meaning is what's indicated here in the context of Soma, because he enlivens all living entities, because he provides the food and everything like that. He's also called Jiva. Just it's a sound principle. It's not something the Vaishnavacharyas just screwed out of it. It's actually the way things are done. But the Mayavadis were real cheaters. They try to juggle words. That's one example of them juggling words. 11. There are many stars located 200,000 yojanas. What?
300,000.
Oh, we got an upgrade then from the book. We added on an extra 100,000 yojanas.
You just have to look at the Sanskrit and see it's right. Whoops, went to the wrong place.
Sri Laksha Yojana Tara.
Yeah, tree means three.
Sri Laksha Yojana.
300,000.
Still can't change it. Just kidding.
Vox Populi.
There are many stars located 300,000 yojanas above the moon. By the supreme will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are fixed to the wheel of time, and thus they rotate with Mount Sumeru on their right, their motion being different from that of the sun. There are 28 important stars headed by Abhijit. Purport: the stars referred to herein are, how many miles?
3,200,000 miles.
3,200,000 miles above the sun, and thus they are
4 million miles above the earth.
4 million miles above the earth. Okay. Any other changes in the next verse? Text 12. Some 1,600,000 miles above this group of stars is the planet Venus, which moves at almost exactly the same pace as the sun, according to swift, slow, and moderate movements. Sometimes Venus moves behind the sun, sometimes in front of the sun, and sometimes along with it. Venus nullifies the influence of planets that are obstacles to rainfall. Consequently, its presence causes rainfall, and it is therefore considered very favorable for all living beings within this universe. This has been accepted by learned scholars. Yea, Venus. 13. Mercury is described to be similar to Venus in that it moves sometimes behind the sun, sometimes in front of the sun, and sometimes along with it. It is 1,600,000 miles above Venus, or 7,200,000 miles above Earth. Mercury, which is the son of the moon, is almost always very auspicious for the inhabitants of the universe. But when it does not move along with the sun, it forebodes cyclones, dust, irregular rainfall, and waterless clouds. In this way, it creates fearful conditions due to inadequate or excessive rainfall. 14. Or excessive rainfall. 14. Situated 1,600,000 miles above Mercury, or 8,800,000 miles above Earth, is the planet Mars. If this planet does not travel in a crooked way, it crosses through each sign of the zodiac in 3 fortnights, and in this way travels through all 12, one after another. It almost always creates unfavorable conditions in respect to rainfall and other influences. 15. Situated 1,600,000 miles above Mars, or 10,400,000 miles above Earth, is the planet Jupiter, which travels through one sign of the zodiac within the period of Parivatsara. If its movement is not curved, the planet Jupiter is very favorable to the brahmanas of the universe. Yay, Jupiter. Uh-oh.
Oh, I did it again. My fault. My
Here.
bad. Really? You're gonna get it?
Oh, no, it's here.
Oh.
Text 16. Situated 1,600,000 miles above Jupiter, or 12 million miles above the Earth, is the planet Saturn, which passes through one sign of the zodiac in 30 months and covers the entire zodiac circle in 30 anuvatsaras. This planet is always very inauspicious for the universal situation. Text 17. Situated 8,800,000 miles above Saturn, or 20,800,000 miles above Earth, are the 7 saintly sages who are always thinking of the well-being of the inhabitants of the universe. They circumambulate the supreme abode of the Lord Vishnu, known as the Dhruvaloka, the pole star. Purport. Srila Madhvacharya quotes the following verse from the Brahmanda Purana. Jnananandatmako Vishnu Shishumada Vipashyata Urdvalokeshu Savyapta Adityayas Tadashrita. Lord Vishnu, who is the source of knowledge and transcendental bliss, has assumed the form of Shishumara in the 7th heaven, which is situated in the topmost level of the universe. All the other planets, beginning with the Sun, exist under the shelter of this Shishumara planetary system. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports, 5th canto, 22nd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Orbits of the Planets. Daily double.
Tie goes to the runner.
Tie goes to the runner. All right. All right.
Then
Shukadev Goswami continued, "My dear king," beginning the Shishumar planetary system, chapter 23, 1,300,000 yojanas, 10,400,000 miles above the planets of the 7 sages, is the place that learned scholars describe as the abode of Lord Vishnu. There the son of Maharaj Uttanapada, the great sage, the great devotee Maharaj Dhruva, still reside as the life source of all the living entities who live until the end of the creation. Agni, Indra, Prajapati, Kashyapa, and Dharma all assemble there to offer him honor and respectful obeisances. They circumambulate him with their right sides toward him. I have already described the glorious activities of Maharaj Dhruva in the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. 2. Established by the supreme will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the pole star, which is the planet of Maharaj Dhruva, constantly shines as the central pivot for all the stars and planets. The unsleeping, invisible, most powerful time factor causes these luminaries to revolve around the pole star without cessation. Purport: it is distinctly stated herein that all the luminaries, the planets and stars, revolve by the influence of the supreme time factor. The time factor is another feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone is under the influence of the time factor, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so kind and loves his devotee, Maharaj Dhruva, so much that he has placed all the luminaries under the control of Dhruva's planet and has arranged for the time factor to work under him or with his cooperation. Everything is actually done according to the will and direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But to make his devotee Dhruva the most important individual within the universe, the Lord has placed the activities of the time factor under his control. 3. When bulls are yoked together and tied to a central post to thresh rice, they tread around that pivot without deviating from their proper positions, one bull being closest to the post, another in the middle, and a third on the outside. Similarly, all the planets and all the hundreds and thousands of stars revolve around the pole star, the planet of Maharaj Juva, in their respective orbits, some higher and some lower. Fastened by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the machine of material nature, according to the results of their fruitive acts, they are driven around the pole star by the wind and will continue to be so until the end of creation. These planets float in the air within the vast sky, just as clouds with hundreds of tons of water float in the air, or as the great Shana eagles. Shana. The great Shana eagles, due to the results of past activities, fly high in the sky and have no chance of falling to the ground. Purport. According to the description of this verse, the hundreds and thousands of stars and the great planets, such as the Sun, the Moon, Venus, Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter, are not clustered together because of the law of gravity or any similar idea of the modern scientists. These planets and stars are all servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda or Krishna, and according to his order they sit in their chariots and travel in their respective orbits. The orbits in which they move are compared to machines given by material nature to the operating deities of the stars and planets, who carry out the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revolving around Dhruvaloka, which is occupied by the great devotee Dhruva Maharaj.
Taking a break.
Keep going.
This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita as follows. Yachakshureva savita sakala grahanam Raja samasta suramurti rasheshate jaha Yasyagya pramati sambrita kala chakro Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose order even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within the fixed orbit of eternal time. The sun is the king of all planetary systems and has unlimited potency in heat and light. This verse from Brahma Samhita confirms that even the largest and most powerful planet, the sun, rotates within a fixed orbit, or Kala Chakra, in obedience to the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This has nothing to do with gravity or any other imaginary laws created by the material scientists. Material scientists want to avoid the ruling government of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore they imagine different conditions under which they suppose the planets move. The only condition, however, is the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the various predominating deities of the planets are persons, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also a person. The Supreme Personality orders the subordinate persons, the demigods of various names, to carry out his supreme will. This fact is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, wherein Krishna says, Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunani nikonteya jagat viparivartate. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. The orbits of the planets resemble the bodies in which all living entities are seated, because they are both machines controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara savabhutanam riddhasharjanatishtati brahmayan savabhutani yantrarudhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. The machine given by material nature, whether the machine of the body or the machine of the orbit, or Kala Chakra, works according to the orders given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead and material nature work together to maintain this great universe, and not only this universe, but also the millions of other universes beyond this one. The question of how the planets and stars are floating is also answered in this verse. It is not because of the laws of gravity. Rather, the planets and stars are enabled to float by manipulations of the air. It is due to such manipulations that big heavy clouds float and big eagles fly in the sky. Modern airplanes like the 747 jet aircraft work in a similar way. By controlling the air, they float high in the sky, resisting the tendency to fall to earth. Such adjustments of the air are all made possible by the cooperation of the principles of Purusha, male, and Prakriti, female. By the cooperation of material nature, which is considered to be Prakriti, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is considered the Purusha, all the affairs of the universe are going on nicely in their proper order. Prakriti, material nature, is also described in the Brahma Samhita as follows. Shrishti pralaya sadhana chakshureka chaye vayasya bhavanani vibharti durga ichchana rupam apiyasya chikshitisa govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. Speed on the bass pass. We're going to get one of those cameras that shoots and radar
Get a
gun.
radar gun?
Yeah, for semi-press.
For some request,
Yeah.
it's too fast.
He goes so fast.
Too fast.
No, I know, no, you, everyone was following you, what?
Minister tickets.
Yeah, yeah,
Speeding tickets.
There'll be
Yeah.
speeding tickets from
Yeah.
any Shlokas.
American
Too
Express.
fast.
yeah.
I'm sorry, it won't happen again.
The external potency, Maya, now we just found out how the Supreme Personality of Godhead works. Now he's agreed to follow the thing. See, it won't happen
He's
again.
voluntarily cooperating.
Voluntarily cooperating, you see? This is the way it
Of
works.
course, there was a little coercion there.
No. Okay. The external potency, Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit spiritual potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. Material nature, the external energy of the Supreme Lord, is also known as Durga, or the female energy that protects the great fort of this universe. The word Durga also means fort. This universe is just like a great fort in which all the conditioned souls are kept, and they cannot leave it unless they are liberated by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord Himself declares in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo viti tatpadaha chakpadeham punarjanma naitimam iti sorjana.
Verdict.
A little better.
Let it go.
Little better. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Thus, simply by Krishna consciousness, by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can be liberated, or in other words, one can be released from the great fort of this universe and go outside it to the spiritual world. It is also significant that the predominating deities of even the greatest planets have been offered their exalted posts because of the very valuable pious activities they performed in previous births. This is indicated herein by the words karma nibita gataya. For example, as we have previously discussed, the moon is called Jiva, which means that he is a living entity, like us. But because of his pious activities, he has been appointed to his post as the moon god. Similarly, All the demigods are living entities who have been appointed to their various posts as the masters of the moon, the earth, Venus, and so on, because of their great service and pious acts. Only the predominating deity of the sun, Surya Narayana, is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maharaj Dhruva, the predominating deity of Dhruvaloka, is also a living entity. Thus there are two kinds of entities: the Supreme Entity, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the ordinary living entity, the Jiva. Nityo Nityanam Chetananam. All the demigods are engaged in the service of the Lord, and only by such arrangement are the affairs of the universe going on. Regarding the great eagles mentioned in this verse, it is understood that there are eagles so big that they can prey on big elephants. They fly so high that they can travel from one planet to another. They start flying in one planet and land in another. And while in flight, they lay eggs that hatch into other birds while falling through the air. In Sanskrit, such eagles are called shena. Under the present circumstances, of course, we cannot see such huge birds, but at least we know of eagles that can capture monkeys and then throw them down to kill and eat them. Similarly, it is understood that there are gigantic birds that can carry off elephants, kill them and eat them. The two examples of the eagle and the cloud are sufficient to prove that flying and floating can be made possible through adjustments of the air. The planets in a similar way are floating because material nature adjusts the air according to the orders of the Supreme Lord. It could be said that these adjustments constitute the law of gravity, but in any case, one must accept that these laws are made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So perhaps it's unreasonable. He's so reasonable. So, anyway, it could be said that this is gravity. You can call it that. They're just calling it that. And you can say, well, it's that. But in any case, these adjustments, one must accept that these laws are made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whatever you call it. The so-called scientists have no control over them. Scientists can falsely, improperly declare that there is no God, but this is not a fact. Text 4. This great machine, consisting of the stars and planets, resembles the form of a shishumara, dolphin, in the water. It is sometimes considered an incarnation of Krishna, Vasudeva. Great yogis meditate upon Vasudeva in this form because it is actually visible. Purport. Transcendentalists, such as yogis, whose minds cannot accommodate the form of the Lord, prefer to visualize something very great, such as the Virat Purusha. Therefore, some yogis contemplate this imaginary Shishumara to be swimming in the sky the way a dolphin swims in water. They meditate upon it as Virat Rupa, the gigantic form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 5. The form of the Shishumara has its head downward and its body coiled. On the end of its tail is the planet of Dhruva. On the body of its tail are the planets of the demigods, Prajapati, Agni, Indra, and Dharma. And at the base of its tail are the planets of the demigods, Data and Vidata. Where the hips might be on the Shishumara of the seven saintly sages like Vishista and Angira, the coiled body of the Shishumara chakra turns towards its right side, on which these 14 constellations from Abhijit to Punarvasu are located. On its left side are the 14 stars from Pusha to Uttarshada. Thus its body is balanced because its sides are occupied by an equal number of stars. On the back of the Shishumara is the group of stars known as Ajaviti, and on its abdomen is the Ganges, that flows in the sky. the Milky Way.
Six, on the left, on the right and left sides of where the loins might be on the Shishumar chakra are the stars named Punarvasu and Pusha. Ardra and Ashlesha are on its right and left feet. Abhijit and Uttarashada are on its right and left nostrils. Shravana and Purvashada are at its right and left eyes. And Dhanishta and Mula are on its right and left ears. The 8 stars from Magha and Anuradha, which mark the southern course, are on the ribs of the left of its body. And the 8 stars from Mrigashirsha to Purvabhadra, which mark the northern course, are on the ribs on the right side. Shatabisha and Jeshta are on the right and left shoulders. 7. On the upper chin of the Shishumar is Augusti. On its lower chin, Yamaraj. On its mouth, Mars. On its genitals, Saturn. On the back of its neck, Jupiter. On its chest, the sun. And within the core of its heart, Narayana. Within its mind is the moon. On its navel, Venus. And on its breasts, the Ashwini Kumaras. Within its life air, which is known as Pranapana, is Mercury. On its neck is Rahu. All over its body are comets, and in its pores are the numerous stars. 8. My dear king, the body of the Shishumar, as thus described, should be considered the external form of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Morning, noon, and evening, one should silently observe the form of the Lord as the Shishumar chakra and worship him with this mantra. O Lord, who has assumed the form of time, O resting place of all the planets moving in different orbits, O Master of all demigods, O Supreme Person, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you and meditate upon you. Now it's gone forever. Oh, too bad. 9. The body of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, which forms the Shishumar chakra, is the resting place of all the demigods and all the stars and planets. One who chants this mantra to worship that Supreme Person 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening, will surely be freed from all sinful reactions. If one simply offers his obeisances to this form, or remembers this form 3 times a day, all his recent sinful activities will be destroyed. Purport. Summarizing the entire description of the planetary systems of the universe, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that one who is able to meditate upon this arrangement as the Virat Rupa or Vishwarupa, the external body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worship him 3 times a day by meditation, will always be free from all sinful reactions. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur estimates that Dhruvaloka, the pole star, is 3,800,000 yojanas above the sun. Above Dhruvaloka by 10 million yojanas is 12?
No, I said wow.
Oh. Above Dhruvaloka by 10 million yojanas is Maharloka. Above Maharloka by 20 million yojanas is Janaloka. Above Janaloka by 80 million yojanas Tapoloka. And above Tapoloka by 120 million yojanas is Satyaloka. Thus, the distance from the sun to Satyaloka is 233,800,000 yojanas, or 1,870,400,000 miles. The Vaikuntha planets begin 26,200,000 yojanas 209,600,000 miles above Satyaloka. Thus, the Vishnu Purana describes that the covering of the universe is 260 million yojanas, 2,080,000,000 miles away from the sun. The distance from the sun to the earth is 100,000 yojanas, and below the earth by 70,000 yojanas are the 7 lower planetary systems called Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Patala. Below these lower planets by 30,000 yojanas, Shesha Naga is lying on the Garbhodak Ocean. That ocean is 249,800,000 yojanas deep. Thus, the total diameter of the universe is approximately 500 million yojanas, or 4 billion miles. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 5th canto, 23rd chapter, the shortest chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Sushumar Planetary System. Bravo. Bravissimo.
Very interesting. Sariputta brings up the point that those distances are distances perpendicular, up and down. But the sun is over here, going around, and therefore, even though the sun is in a different position, going up and down, and therefore the moon seems to be farther away. If you calculate it this way, what's the word? Horizontally to the end of where the sun is, then the sun is approximately the same as the scientists said, 93 million miles from the Earth. Interesting. I thought. Anyway, sorry, Krishna.
That ends this morning's reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll be back here at 3:30 p.m. at the normal time to continue with the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much for joining us here in the live Govardhan studios, and for all of you who've joined us online. We've felt your presence very deeply. We thank you very much for tuning in to the reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Gaur Premanande, Nitya Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitya Gaura Haribo, Nitya Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitya Gaura Haribo. Vanchakalpadurusha Kripasanabhyacha Patitanam Bhavebhyo Shnabhebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you very much. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, hey, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman.